Hello and welcome to Minerals, Rocks, and Fossil Talks. I'm your geology teacher, Jen, and it's time for some Monday musings. Let's talk about igneous plumbing systems. Volcanic igneous plumbing systems, or VIPS, are interconnected channels and chambers that magma travels through and is stored in. Generating VIPs starts with partial melting. Partial melting is dependent on temperature, pressure, flux addition, and composition of the source rock. The magma then migrates out of its source region by the process of segregation and extraction. So what does that mean? Well, segregation is the separation of melt from its source rock through gravitational compaction. When the source rock experiences compaction, minerals start to melt at grain boundaries. The melt droplets then build up and connect into melt pools until they are extracted. There are two end members of melt extraction. Melt can be extracted in pulses if the development of magma channels are rapid and the network is highly interconnected, or melt can be constantly drained from the source if the magma channels are developed in a continuous and steady manner. So think dripping faucet versus actually turning it on. Extraction controls the chemical composition of the melt, the amount transported, and the volume contained in plutons. For instance, if the magma channels are not well connected, the source may not be drained successfully, and dikes may freeze before propagating far enough to feed plutons. If the source rock could not initiate dike ascent with sufficient melt, the source rock may remain undrained, favoring diapiric ascent of the source rock. And that was a lot of big words. So what is a diaper? Well, a diaper forms when a blob of hot, ductile magma ascends through brittle overlying rocks. It is the main mechanism of magma transport from the lower to middle crust. Diapers are often fed by a series of dikes and sills. And here's a diaper right here. When magma stops ascending, a magma reservoir is formed. The kind of reservoir is determined by the depth and the geometry. We talked about those different reservoirs in a previous video. I'll make sure to put a link in the description. Emplacement in the lower crust is classified as a pluton. Whoop. Thickness can range from 1 kilometer to tens of kilometers, and the thickness is more than the length of the reservoir. And it takes about 100,000 to 6 million years for one of these to form. Emplacement in the middle to upper crust are sills. These are sheet intrusions that normally are emplaced at least 3 kilometers below the surface. When sills become stacked, they form a dome-shaped structure known as a laccolith, as you can see up here. So, hope you learned a little bit about plumbing systems for volcanoes today. Thanks for coming to the lesson, and make sure you tune in tomorrow for one last Igneous Trivia Tuesday. Fossilize later.